In this video, we'll talk about how to minimize maintenance costs, prevent unnecessary false temperature alarms, and properly load samples. Our expert maintenance team collected some important performance information over the past few years and came up with some ideas that can help save you time and money. First, we'll discuss what are known as startup failures. These instances could be the result of an electrical breaker tripping when the freezer is turned on or the cord getting hot after it's turned on and runs for a while. In most cases, startup failures are caused by one of the following. First, your freezer could be plugged in to a CFGI receptacle or circuit. This is not recommended as stated in the operations manual. Second, your freezer could be sharing an outlet with another piece of equipment or using an outlet that's part of a circuit containing more than one outlet. This may overload the circuit and cause the breaker to trip. And third, your freezer could be connected to extension cords. These are not recommended because they can cause the electrical breaker to trip or the freezer to work harder than needed due to the length of the cord. An extension cord can also be a fire hazard. Next, let's talk about warm temperature situations, including long temperature recovery times. When this problem occurs, consider how you're using your freezer. More specifically, how you're loading it, how many times the door is open, and for how long. In your freezer's operations manual, you'll find loading instructions that help maintain its performance and avoid undue stress on critical refrigeration parts. Improperly loading the freezer will result in long pull down and recovery times. Another reason for long temperature recovery times are excessive door openings and lengths of time with the door open. If you open the door multiple times within a short period, the freezer temperature will not be able to recover quickly, especially if you're loading room temperature samples. The same is true for holding the door open for extended periods of time. In this situation, the freezer can warm up considerably. For example, let's say room temperature is 22 degrees Celsius. And let's say your desired freezer temperature is -80 degrees Celsius. If you keep the door open long enough that your freezer almost reaches room temperature, it has over 100 degrees of cooling to do once the door is closed. And that's not including the extra work the freezer must do if the samples are warm. From my experience, training sample management specialists, checking the monitoring system, and the freezer's acceptable limits before opening the door is important for eliminating false alarms and keeping samples at the safe temperature. Now that we've discussed proper loading techniques, let's talk more about monitoring and maintenance. We've received many service calls pertaining to setup and maintenance issues. In many cases, a third-party probe was routed through the door, and when this happens, it disrupts the effectiveness of the door gasket and allows ice to form. It's always best to route wires through the built-in access ports instead. Run your wire through the port and then use the provided plug or another type of insulation to fill the gap to eliminate ice buildup. It's important to keep up with preventative maintenance. For your freezer to operate as designed, preventative maintenance is your best defense. Periodic defrosting, filter changes, and other suggested maintenance is critical to the performance of the freezer. Be sure that the area around the freezer is maintained as well. Keeping it clean is important to allow for proper airflow, as retaining the recommended empty space around all sides. Hopefully, the information in this video will help you to avoid unnecessary service calls, saving you both time and money over the life of your freezer. Thank you.